What if you teleported 2,000 years into the past? Imagine this for a moment. You're sitting in your room doing absolutely nothing unusual. Maybe you're watching a video, scrolling through your phone, or just lying in bed after a long day. And then, without any warning whatsoever, everything around you goes dark. There's no explosion, no strange machine, and no countdown telling you what's about to happen. 1 second you're here, and the next you're somewhere else entirely. You open your eyes expecting to see your city, your home, or at least something familiar. But instead, everything is gone. The roads have disappeared. There are no cars, no power lines, no skyscrapers, and certainly no internet. In every direction, the world looks completely different. People nearby stop whatever they're doing and stare at you. Their clothes look strange. Their language sounds unfamiliar. And that's the exact moment you realize something impossible has happened. You have somehow traveled 2,000 years into the past. The year is 26 AD. The question is, could you actually survive? And perhaps, even more interestingly, would all the modern knowledge inside your head make you a genius in the ancient world? Or would you discover that you're far from dependent on modern civilization than you have ever imagined? Let's find out. The first few hours would probably be the hardest part of the entire experience. Most people like to imagine that they have immediately become the smartest person in the history. We picture ourselves teaching people about electricity, inventing machines centuries ahead of schedule, and completely changing the course of civilization. But the reality, it would hit much harder than that. The first problem is language. English, as we know it today, simply didn't exist. Depending on where you arrived, you might hear Latin, Ancient Greek, Aramaic, Celtic languages, or countless regional dialects that have completely vanished from the modern world. Even if some words sound familiar, actual communication would be nearly impossible. Think about how terrifying that would feel. You couldn't explain who you are, you couldn't ask where you are, you couldn't tell people that you mean no harm or that you're just as confused as they are. In many ways, you would be the closest thing to an alien that those people had ever seen. And throughout human history, people haven't always reacted kindly to things they don't understand. Your appearance alone would immediately make you stand out. The clothes you're wearing right now are probably made from materials that ancient civilizations had never seen before. Your shoes, your glasses, your hairstyle, and even the way you speak and carry yourself would feel completely foreign. Some people might assume you're incredibly wealthy because of your unusual appearance. Others might believe you're from some distant kingdom or something that they've never heard of before. And if you start talking about modern concepts, things like airplanes, satellites, computers, or people walking on the moon, you probably wouldn't sound really wise, wouldn't you? You would sound absolutely insane. Imagine trying to explain the internet to a Roman citizen. Imagine telling someone that in the future, people would carry tiny devices in their pockets, capable of accessing almost all human knowledge in seconds. You could explain it perfectly, but without any proof. Why would anyone believe you? To them, your stories would be no different than myths or fantasies. There's a common belief that modern people would instantly become geniuses if they traveled into the past. After all, we know things that ancient civilizations didn't. We understand electricity, medicine, physics, and engineering. Surely that would give us some enormous advantage. But here's an uncomfortable question. Could you actually build any of those things from scratch? Not use electricity, create it. Could you mine copper, refine metals, manufacture insulated wires, and build a generator using only the resources available 2,000 years ago? Could you construct a steam engine? Produce antibiotics? Create modern glass lenses? No, most people couldn't. And honestly, that's not an insult. Modern civilization is not built upon the knowledge of one person. It's the result of billions of people contributing tiny pieces over thousands of years. We understand the finished products because we grew up surrounded by them. But creating those products from nothing is an entirely different challenge. In reality, you would probably have incredible ideas, but very limited ways of turning those ideas into reality. Ironically, the greatest threat to your survival might not be war, wild animal, or starvation. It could be germs. Because our immune systems have adapted to the modern world. Ancient populations lived alongside countless diseases and bacteria that no longer exist in the same forms today. Something as simple as drinking untreated water could become life threatening for you. A minor infection that modern antibiotics would solve in days could end your life entirely. But it works both ways. You would also carry modern microorganisms into a world that has never encountered them before. History has shown us what happens when isolated populations meet unfamiliar diseases. Entire civilizations have suffered devastating consequences from those encounters. So, without intending to, you could alter history in ways far greater than any invention or political influence ever could. Not because of your intelligence, but because of microscopic organisms that nobody can even see. Let's assume you survive. You learn the local language, adapt to daily life, and somehow earn people's trust. Could you actually change history? Maybe. But probably not in the dramatic way movies often portray. You might know about future wars, the rise and fall of the empires, or important historical figures. You could try warning people about certain events or predicting things that haven't happened yet. But convincing others would be incredibly difficult. After all, imagine someone today claiming to be from like 4026 or something. They describe impossible technologies and tell you exactly how future events will unfold. Would you believe them? Just do like a little empathy, you know? Most likely not. So, ancient humans were not as intelligent than we are. Most likely not. Ancient humans were less intelligent than we are. They were just as skeptical, curious, and cautious. Extraordinary claims required extraordinary proof then, just as they do today. And unfortunately, all the proof you once had, your phone, your technology, your modern world, disappeared the moment you arrived. Knowing the future and proving the future are two completely different things. But I think the hardest challenge wouldn't be physical survival, too. It would be loneliness, like imagine. Nobody around you would understand your references. Nobody would know your favorite songs, your favorite movies, or the things that shaped your childhood. Your family does not exist yet. Your closest friends are 2,000 years away. Maybe even your country hasn't been created. Everything that defines who you are belongs to a future that nobody around you can imagine. Time travel sounds exciting when we think about adventures and discovery, but we rarely think about what it means to lose every human connection we've ever had. We are social creatures. Our identities are built upon shared memories and experiences with other people. Remove those connections, and surviving becomes much deeper than finding food and shelter. It becomes a struggle to remain yourself. And yet, despite all the differences, I think you would discover something remarkable. Ancient humans were still human. They laughed with their friends. They worried about children. They fell in love, experienced heartbreak, feared death, and dreamed about better futures. They told stories, argued about politics, and wondered about their place in the universe, just like we do today. The technology was different back then. The buildings were different, but the people themselves were surprisingly familiar. Sometimes we imagine history as if ancient humans belonged to a completely separate world. In reality, though, they were people exactly like us who simply inherited a different version of civilization. And perhaps that's one of the most beautiful things about human history. Across thousands of years, despite everything that has changed, human nature has remained astonishingly consistent. So, could you survive if you suddenly find yourself in the year 26 AD? Maybe. If you're adaptable, fortunate, and able to earn the trust of the people around you, survival is certainly possible. But becoming a technological savior or single-handedly transforming civilization is much less realistic than most of us imagine. Because modern life isn't the achievement of a handful of brilliant individuals. It's humanity's greatest collaborative project. Every piece of technology we enjoy today exists because countless generations built upon the work of those who came before them. And perhaps that's the most humbling realization of all. The smartphone in your pocket, the medicine in your cabinet, the airplanes crossing the sky above you, none of these things belong to one person or even one generation. They are the results of 2,000 years of accumulated knowledge, passed from one human to being it to another. If you were suddenly taken back to the beginning of that journey, you might finally understand just how extraordinary the present really is. And maybe the greatest superpower isn't knowing the future at all. Maybe it is appreciating the incredible moment of history that we already live in.